Okay, so the review for the quiz is going to be all non-calculator. Even though, you still have to make sure you know how to use your calculator to do these. But the review then is pretty similar to the quiz. So we'll just go through that real quick. It'll start out with some that are similar, like just you should know these angles. So when you see inverse cosine of negative radical 3 over 2, you just need to remember the range of answers. Cosine's negative over here. And so what angle has an x value of negative radical 3 over 2? The y value would be 1/2. That is a reference angle of pi over 6. So your answer is 5 pi over 6. You're going to have to remember all your ordered pairs too. Number 2, cosine, inverse cosine of 0. What angle has in this range of answers has an x value that's 0? That's going to happen right here at the ordered pair 0, 1. The cosine is 0, so that's at pi over 2. Inverse tan, again, I never know these tangent ones. So inverse tangent has that range of answers. It's negative down here. So that's going to be the y value over the x value. So negative radical 3 is the y and 1 is the x. And so if I take this squared, I get 3, plus 1 squared is 1. So I get 4 when I add them together. Square root of 4 is 2. So now I see that, okay, the cosine is 1/2. The sine is negative radical 3 over 2. And so that happens when the cosine is 1/2 of negative pi over 3. So when I don't know the tangent ones, I draw the picture and then I think about sine or cosine. All right, secant is negative 2, so that means I'm looking for the cosine of negative 1/2. Okay, so if I know I have an angle, let's name an angle that has a secant of negative 2. I also have that same angle has a cosine of negative 1/2. So again, we are in the second quadrant because the cosine is negative over there. If I go negative 1/2 over, radical 3 over 2 up, that reference angle is pi over 3. So that's 2 pi over 3. 2 pi over 3. All right, then we get into the ones where there are multiple steps. So again, remember, that means an angle. So I'm looking for the cosine of this angle. So I'm going to draw that picture. It's inverse sine. What angle has a sine of negative 3/5? I don't know that one, so I'm going to draw it. There's my angle. I'll call it theta. It has a sine of negative 3/5. So I can find the x value. That's easy because it's a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. So this is asking for the cosine of that angle. Cosine is x over r, so that would be 4/5. All right, number 6, another two-step problem, but here be careful, they gave me the sine of negative pi over 6. So they're giving me the angle. The angle of negative pi over 6 is here. Sine is the y value, so the y value of negative pi over 6 is negative 1/2. So now the problem becomes inverse cosine of negative 1/2. What angle has a cosine of negative 1/2? Inverse cosine answers have to be over in the second quadrant. If the x value is negative 1/2, the y value would be radical 3 over 2 on the unit circle. And so that again is a reference angle of pi over 3. So that would be 2 pi over 3. Okay, so it's really very similar to the problem right above it. They both came down to inverse cosine and negative 1/2. All right, number 7. They gave me the angle 7 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4 and over here, because 8 pi over 4 is 2 pi. So 7 pi over 4 is in the fourth quadrant. The tangent of that, remember the ordered pair there is radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2, where the y value is negative. So tangent is y over x. Well, anything over itself is going to be 1. So that tangent of that is negative 1. So then the question becomes, what's the inverse tan of negative 1? Well, inverse tan has to be an answer between pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. So it's the same angle I have drawn over here, but I have to name it differently when I'm doing inverse tan. The reference angle is pi over 4, but I have to say that's negative pi over 4. I can't go all the way around the circle. My answer has to be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So I have to name it negative pi over 4. All right, cosine of 2 pi over 3. They gave me the angle. 2 pi over 3 is here. So that has a reference angle of pi over 3, which means that's negative 1/2. And this is radical 3 over 2 with a radian when I'm on the unit circle. It wants to know what angle, so what is the cosine of that angle? Well, the cosine is negative 1/2. So I fill that in. I took the cosine of 2 pi over 3. It's the x value. And so now I'm asking what angle has a sine of negative 1/2? Well, inverse sine has to be down here. What angle has a y value of negative 1/2, which means your x value would be radical 3 over 2. That happens with a reference angle of pi over 6, so it's negative pi over 6. All right, and 9. I don't know this one, so I'm going to draw the picture. This is looking for an angle, so I'm going to draw the picture of the angle. Cotangent is negative, like the cosine over in the second. Cotangent is x over y. So the x value is negative radical 5, the y value is 2. So if I want to find r, I take negative radical 5 squared plus 2 squared equals r squared. 5 plus 4 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So r is 3. All right, and so what's the question? The question asks me, what's the cosecant of that angle I just drew? This is the angle I just drew. I'll call it theta, whatever you want to call it. Drew that angle with this information. I want to know the cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine. So the sine is 2 over 3. So the cosecant is the reciprocal of that, 3 over 2. And then the last one on the front page is they gave you the angle 11 pi over 6. So 11 pi over 6 would be here. 12 pi over 6 is 2 pi, so it's a reference angle of pi over 6. The cosine of that angle is the x value. That is radical 3 over 2. So you first figure out what that is, radical 3 over 2. So it becomes a new problem. Inverse cosine of radical 3 over 2. Cosine is positive, and with my inverses, remember, cosine has to be between 0 and pi, so it's up here. What angle has a cosine of radical 3 over 2? Pi over 6. So you have to realize that even though this was 11 pi over 6, you get an answer for that. The cosine of 11 pi over 6 is radical 3 over 2. So now you have to draw a new picture. Inverse cosine is positive in the first quadrant. And so that's why we got pi over 6. So that's the front page of that.